everybody. It's Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. So today I have a special guest, and his name is Dr. Thomas Jeneby. Now, Dr. Jeneby is a board-certified plastic surgeon in private practice in San Antonio since 2002. Now, he's a member of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons and received an honor of being appointed Diplomat of the American Board of Plastic Surgery. Now, he's a national trainer for SmartLipo as well as dot therapy laser resurfacing and an international speaker on adjustable breast implants. Now, Dr. Jeneby operates out of his own accredited office-based surgery center, and he uses only MD Anesthesiologists, ensuring two doctors are with the patients at all times. So, Dr. Jeneby, I want to welcome you to Beauty and the Biz.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love today's world. We had to do this on a Sunday because everyone's so darn busy. So, of course, he's in his car grocery shopping with his wife. So I'm sure all sorts of hiccups will happen, but we're going to get through this. So, Dr. Jeneby, I will tell you, I've been at this for 20 years hanging around with plastic surgeons, and I can count on one hand how many of them had ponytails. And so you win for the longest ponytail I've seen so far.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I just had it cut, actually. We're probably right around 11 inches. I was up to 16, so I just got it cut.
How did you become a plastic surgeon with a ponytail?
Well, I went to Penn in Philly, and there I had to keep it cut. You know, that was 96 to 2002, their combined program. And, you know, in the Ivy Leagues, you don't get to have long hair. So after that, about 2000, just as I finished, I started to grow it out long. And then you know, it kind of spiraled to get longer and longer. And then there's a point, and as you're growing your hair, you look a little funny. And I blasted through that point, and then I got it so that now it's you know, for me it's my kind of like a free trademark here in town.
For sure.
And yeah.
If you ever want to differentiate, that's one way to do it. That's for sure.
Yes.
So what possessed you to become a plastic surgeon? Because they're typically a fairly conservative group, and you can obviously see you're a renegade. So how did you end up in this industry?
So just like every other surgeon almost, you always come to believe that you want to be either a cardiac surgeon or a neurosurgeon. And when you have those thoughts in your head, you don't realize how much time you need to spend in the hospital. And when I did my rotations, my third rotation in third year was surgery. And I connected with a guy named Isaac Wernham, Dr. Wernham, who's in private practice in Richmond, but was at MCV and went to Penn. He said, I think you would like plastic surgery. So a month with him, I loved it. And he wrote me a nice letter to Dr. Whitaker up in at Penn, who was the chairman at the time, and said, you know, this guy's going to be good for the program. So that's how it started. And then I got matched.
And then how'd you end up in San Antonio, Texas? Are you from there?
You're going to laugh, but I'm a huge Cowboys fan, and I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, wow. You can't live on the East Coast and be a Cowboys fan. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Ever since I was a kid, I liked Randy White and those guys. And
right.
I had Cowboys gear, and I kept getting blacked out in Philly and New York and DC. And as a Cowboys fan, I thought Texas would be a great place to go.
Nice. Now, did you end up in private practice right away, or did you first do what a lot do, which is join another practice, get a partner, not that, you know, finally realize you need to be on your own? Like, how did that journey happen for you?
You know, I went with what they call a hospital guarantee, and I did that twice. The first place I went to was Arkansas, Little Rock, and I got a hospital guarantee. I lived there from 2002 to 2003 and kind of got tired of it, and then thought to myself, if I'm going to live in the South, I'm going to live in Texas. Mm-hmm. So then I leapfrogged into San Antonio with another hospital guarantee. I never joined anyone. I've never had a partner. I like it like that. Sometimes in this industry, And most of the times, more than not, partnerships don't survive in plastic surgery. Well, I don't know why. I mean, I have thoughts of why, but who knows?
All right. So in your practice, are you the sole revenue producer? Are you kind of like that one and done mentality where you just do surgery and that's it? Or do you have a med spa situation? How are you set up?
So since 2004, I've been acquiring property of buildings, and my first building was '07. In that building, I built my office space, which is the plastic surgery side. And then I created a med spa upstairs in 2010, and about 2009. And by 2010, I created a surgery center all in one building. And right now I have about 12 to 13 med spa staff. And in 2017, I acquired a building in San Antonio, kind of in the wealthier section of town. And from there, I split into 2 med spas. So I have about 12 to 13 girls between 2 med spas. I have a total staff of about 23.
Whoa, okay. Let's talk about the business side of that, because nowadays you have to be a surgeon and a manager and a leader and a visionary and a marketer and everything else. How's that going? Do you like running the business side of your practice?
I really do. But I love marketing.
Yeah.
I guess it would be my hobby when I'm done. Maybe you and I can work together, whatever. But right now we are branching out and helping other practices with their marketing, but doing a little bit more than that. We're actually going in, hiring staff for them, and monitoring the staff for lead closures. And I'm very, very interested in the psychology of closing a lead.
Right.
And how many you need to close for this amount of income. So you have to break it down to like lead closures. For example, we use a software called Red Spot, and I have no financial wherewithal with Red Spot, but it tells us like for all leads to closure, we should be doing about 6% to 7%. That's talking 12,000 leads or something. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just one, it's all the leads combined in your efforts. And I know when we slip to 4% or 3%, we won't pay the bills. Mm-hmm. But I know at 6%, we'll pay the bills. So you have to get that granular with your lead acquisition and lead tracking. It's not so much that you and I can drive traffic to anyone by overspending on SEM, but then it's not usually the SEM's fault. It's your fault for not training the staff or having external people put them in the seats and then finding financing for them.
Right. There's a great pearl that you're saying there, because right now, most of the audience said 6 to 7%. That sucks. And what they don't realize is it's the fundamentals of getting a stranger through your processes to a yes. So I always hear a practice say to me, oh yeah, our conversion rate is 50%. No, it's not. You started with 100 leads, and now you're down to maybe you got 1 out of that. You didn't convert the phone, you didn't convert the consult, you didn't convert the retention. Like, there's so much more to it than just that one piece of it. So I'm so glad you get that. Yeah, most don't.
Yeah, like 50% means they got into your office and somehow could make payments.
Right.
So what we did is about 5 years ago, I started lending money to patients. I make them put 65% to 75% down, and then I finance 25 to 35%. And and the loss rate on that is about 3% with how many people we keep up with. So that's better than Care Credit's 13%. Do you know what I mean?
So you're having them put 65% cash down or credit cards or something, and then you're giving them another pay plan to finish off that last.
Yes, and it works. We probably do that with 30% of the clients. Wow. And if it wasn't for that, 30% of our clients wouldn't be able to afford $20,000 surgery or $15,000 surgery or something. But you just find out your sweet spot where you've already made your money, and then we know how to do these plans and what software to use. And then some software have automatic payments, whether you collect or not, for an extra fee. It's kind of fun. it's fun to figure that stuff out.
Wow. And do you now have an accounting department that's acting as your internal bank?
Yeah, I have one person in the office that when we get a hit that says this person didn't pay, he goes back and picks the other form. We have two forms of payment, a checking and then some kind of a credit card. So we switch to the other form, and we have software that automatically switches. And then if that doesn't work, we send them to collections.
Gotcha.
It's pretty, so it's like a business, like a regular business.
Okay, so you see, the part that's different about you is you get both sides to that. For all their patients, or all the doctors are saying right now is, I'm not going to be the bank. They're going to default. I have to pay staff to do this. But look what you did. You grabbed that 30% that you never would have gotten had you not done this. So you have to do that check and balance of value. What do you get out of this versus what's it costing you to get out of this? So good for you.
Yeah, and I know we lose only 3%. Actually, with my with the way I structure the banking and my admin fees, I'm currently making 2%. So what you do is you look at what care credit they have this 2-year thing. I think it's 2 years, 24 months, no interest.
Right.
Well, that's not no interest to you. You pay 13%. So if you have a $10,000 surgery, care credit charges gives you $8,700. So you're talking saving 10% a year by being your own bank and actually making 1 to 3% a year on that. And there's no credit check. With nothing. We don't check anything. As long as we have 65 to 75% down.
Then at least you know you've recouped your costs and the rest is gravy. Is that how you look at it?
That's pretty much, yeah. And so we get checks every month that are basically like an annuity.
Gotcha.
You get you get some money each month that you weren't really expecting, but they've been surgeries from years ago. So they just keep coming in. And the guy who taught me that was a guy. So when I look at something for business, I don't talk to other doctors. I talk to other industry. So these are payroll services, like those fast check. You can get money if you payroll advance. Sorry.
Okay.
So that guy said one day he drove up in like this Rolls Royce, and I'm like, "What the hell do you do?" And he said, "I have 7,000 people giving me $100 a month."
Wow.
Like, oh man, that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's how I got into it. Payroll services, actually.
Wow. All right. Very good. And by the way, that's how I've always marketed. You never look in your own industry. You look at other industries who do very well and you pull it apart. That's all I've done in my whole career. I keep pulling it apart from another, like, what do the whatever do? And then I bring it to our industry. And then I make it plausible for the plastic surgeons. Good for you. So regarding staff, most of the surgeons say staff and managing staff and motivating them has been probably the biggest challenge of being in business. How's it going for you?
So I've done different formulas. I have individual bonuses and then I have team bonuses. And so what we found was there's a sweet spot for every employee. They might not be bringing $50,000 to $70,000 a week. They may be a $30,000 a week person, but they may have other sides to them. And so what you do is you make a sort of a goal that you think in that month, in that time of the year, that they can make those goals, and you sweeten a little bit by having some team goals. And what I found was they don't ratchet their sales and they don't sandbag for the next week. So, but there's nobody's right, nobody's wrong. And some staff want recognition.
Right.
Some people want a plaque. Some people want a toothbrush. I don't know whatever they want. We figure their sweet spot. And there are some basic formulas though to this. And not that we've mastered it, but every staff is different. Your staff now will be different than it is 3 to 4 years from now. They're just going to be natural turnover. And so you'll have to find some sweet spots for them and continuously test and fail. You have to fail. There's growth and comfort do not coexist. So you're going to have to fail a lot.
With growth, as you grow, your staff has to grow with you. And a lot of staff don't have that growth mindset, or they'd be doing something else. So that is such a touchy area, because I've had A players. I've seen A players in practices, but they don't play well with others. And this is such a team sport in our industry that it all counts. maybe you're a great revenue producer, but a pain in the butt to work with, all of that
Yes.
is taken into account. So there's nothing easy about that. So, but you're saying you've
No.
done a pretty good job with it. And are there any pearls that you have found, like one thing that you've done to hire the right A players? How are you finding them or motivating them?
So that's always difficult. I do use a service called the PEO.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of an outsourced HR. So if we have a problem with somebody, we call them and they help us remove them or write them up or something. It's totally worth it because, in their contracts are binding arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff you don't even know that's coming if you're new.
Mm-hmm.
But like me at 19 years, it was nice to have some binding arbitration clauses. It's nice to have a PEO. I think they only cost 1% to 2% of your total payroll.
Mm-hmm.
But man, they are just great with helping that. They will also interview for you first fee. They'll check references. The big thing about us is about 3 or 4 of us do the interviewing. I'm the last one.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually converted to a 90-day. They only get a 90-day job,
right? And
then we reevaluate. So they're temporary for 90 days. And then you're like, okay, now we're going to make you permanent. So it makes them either bring out their good side or at least listen in the first 90 days to what we have to say.
I agree with the probationary period. I've often said 30 because I think your real spots show up pretty quickly if you're there every day. But I think you always have to have a way out because especially nowadays, people can interview so well. And then they even can look really good on social media. And then they're bombed. They're not the right fit, let's just say. And you've got to have an out. And also, at the end, if you let somebody go or free them to be elsewhere, it's so easy for them to, trash you on social media. So do you have that built into your contracts with them?
Yeah, there's you have to have NDAs and confidentiality, and you've got to hit it hard when somebody starts doing that. You just have to have your lawyers in place. You can't let it. You can let a lot of things go, but there's some things you can't let go. And we have all kinds of neat things in our contract that bonuses if you give us at least 4 weeks notice, that kind of stuff. But that's taken 19 years to figure out. You know that.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, either you get somebody like you or somebody to help you through these things. But you're going to make mistakes, but that's okay. It's okay to fail because, all gems require friction to be polished. Good. And you're not going to learn from being a successful person. You're going to learn from failing a lot. And that's what we are. I've failed a ton. Dang. And, but I'm pretty confident that we have about a formula that works 80% of the time. I'm pretty confident with that. Who knows?
Yeah, right. All right, we have to move on to marketing because you're so good at it. I did do some research on you. You've got that Super Bowl ad that you did in San Antonio. Is there any way you're going to tell us how much that cost? Or tell me how that all how did that all come about?
That's my secret. Maybe when I'm getting close to retirement, we work together. I'll give you all the secrets, but it's not as much as you think.
Okay.
Especially if you're not I'll give you one secret. Do it before the Super Bowl starts, like 4:56 or 4:50 to 5 o'clock. Don't do it after 5 o'clock. It's kind of part of Super Bowl, so that's all I'm going to say on that.
Gotcha. And then how did you do the video production and the scripting and where did all that come from? Because that's a big deal.
Actually, that really only cost about 10 grand to get the scripting and somebody to film it. And you just hire a really, really high end or medium end player to help you. And don't count out some of the newer progressive marketing agency firms, the ones with the young kids. They have some really funny ideas, and above all, make your Super Bowl ad funny and charming, and don't get really serious with it.
You don't care what your colleagues think about you, do you?
No, not really. I was the president of our society for 2 years, and I used to bring in my own complications.
Okay.
And I used to ask everybody to bring in complications so we could throw eggs at each other So I brought in my own complications and let everybody throw eggs at me.
Good.
And they said that was the best
Yep.
2 years of a presidential reign they've had in a while, because you kind of have to laugh at yourself and you have to be willing to take some criticism.
Right. And not care what others think, as long as you're okay and you sleep well at night and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to all the new people out there, you're going to get hammered.
Yeah.
And just smile, and success is the best revenge. You don't have to say a thing, actually.
For sure.
And, as Marcus Aurelius would say, when somebody angers you, just be silent. It's not going to fit your personality well if you're out there chopping everyone's heads off that's trying to chop you off.
Right.
This is not going to work like that. It takes time to think about that, though, Catherine. It's like you want to kill someone, but it's better off you just enjoy your own moments and know this is going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And all negative publicity passes and all positive publicity passes. And you just have to keep working every day.
I learned a long time ago, I was told as a marketer, 98% of what you do is going to fall on deaf ears. But the 2% that hear you can make you a fortune. So I just always remember that, because you can get pounded by trying things, trying. Like, and I'm sure you've done this a million times. Like, you've tried ads, you've tried billboards, you've tried. And then you think, geez, none of this works, but that's not true. In your mind, it doesn't work, but the numbers will tell you it is if you're tracking. You've got to track everything. Okay, so you're also a very good PR guy. I'm assuming there's a PR agency backing you up, because you have really worked that PR angle very well.
I mean, I'm really kind of flabbergasted you'd think that. I mean, with your experience, I'm touched, and I'm of course honored. But again, a mediocre media plan done consistently will beat a high expensive plan done inconsistently. So the worst thing you can do is stop.
Yeah.
So no matter what, however tired you are, you've got to get video. You've got to spend maybe half a day with your PR group and make videos for TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. And there's days I just don't want to do any of that. But you just have to make time. And again, I always say just keep at it. And you don't have to have like a $10,000 crew. You can have like, a $100 crew. Do it, but people will know that you're trying.
Right.
And like like in my office, I try to speak as much Spanish as possible to my Spanish patients. And even though I screw it up, they appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For Instagram, you're like very, very well known. I've seen you at the conferences. They invite you to talk about your Instagram presence because you've done a killer job there. And from a patient's point of view, you're showing social proof, and it's authentic social proof, and you're being authentic. And it doesn't need to be Steven Spielberg perfect. It's supposed to be authentic. You're supposed to have staff with an iPad and a cell phone, and it's rugged and it's natural and it's what's really happening. And patients so gravitate towards that. But again, you have to get out of your own way and say, this doesn't need to be perfect. That's not what they want to see what you're doing.
Yeah, they like this sort of homegrown, not perfect. You have to make a lot of fun of yourself. You can't be, you can't have a lot of hubris. You have to just sort of, like what I like to see is funny things of other people. So you got to do that. Sure, you can be serious about things, but show some funny side of yourself, for Christ's sake. I mean, people are gonna like that about you.
Yeah. How much time are you spending on social media?
Ooh, I'd say cutting videos, doing my TikTok videos. Well, my social media girls coming into the OR, and we do 5 surgeries a day, 5 days a week. So they're there. Oh man, I don't know how many hours. So anyway, back to what we said. I think your question was how many hours. I would say, well, we're talking, if I'm in the OR 12 to 14 hours a day, and then they're with me, they're spending with me about 50 hours a week. Plus, we do some things called behind the mask, where I answer common questions. Plus, I do some TikTok. Plus, I do some Snapchat, and then I do some duets on. I mean, it's crazy. I think the passive social media is sometimes 50 hours a week. The active social media is 3 to 4 hours a week.
Oh, Do you see how, I hope the audience is hearing none of this is magic. It's work. It's time, it's effort,
It works.
it's money,
Yeah.
it's you. That's the reality of it. There's no magic about it. Golly. Yeah.
Yeah, you work very hard at what you do. I've read all your stuff. One day we're going to work together very
Right?
soon when I can get my act together and a few other things. But the guys will come to you and hire you and be like, I'm going to be an instant success.
Right.
But you're going to put them to task and be like, no, I need 10 hours a week of you filming. I need 5 hours a week of some quotes. I need whatever. And you're going to find that anybody out there that's going to hire somebody as like you should be ready to do some work, because it's not going to be all you.
I try to say, the minimal, if you would just have a staff person follow you around and videotape you in the day in the life of a plastic surgeon, at least do that, because a lot of the surgeons are very uncomfortable on film, and it's okay, just be yourself. Like I have a content creating machine, and I always say, just do what you do naturally, and that is consultations with patients. So have your staff videotape that. There's your FAQs, and then cut them up and turn them into little clips all over the internet on different platforms. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, because what's happening right now is they're going to say, I'm not like him. I'm not like this. So, I mean, what would you advise anybody who knows that social media is where it's at, and they've got to somehow participate in it, because that's where we went. So you've got to adapt. Like, how did you get started?
So first of all, the people who don't say I can't do what he does or I can't, I would reference in 1969, we shot a rocket, the biggest rocket ever made, and it went 20 times the speed of a bullet, and we landed on the moon 3 days later with a 2 kilobyte computer, where right now your iPhone is 30 billion times faster.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things we can do. Wow. And there's a lot of things that you think you can't do. So I would tell everybody, look at history and see what people actually did, and then you won't feel so sorry for yourself. Just, you gotta get it done. If you have a content creation and you see your customer, your client is not as fast, well, then you'll dial back and you'll scale it for them. Mm-hmm. But definitely have somebody like you. And by the way, everybody out there, I don't have a financial interest in Catherine, but I've known her for many years in this industry. Mm-hmm. But she can scale it back. And another thing is, you can hire somebody right out of college who's on a mass comm or mass media, and you need that person in your office. I have 2 people like that, one for spa and one for my plastic, and all they do is full-time marketing. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to do it with your front desk or your whatever. Pay that person, that patient. If you get one extra mommy makeover of boobs, that's well worth the effort, and that person can talk to you all the time and get things done.
Oh, so true. You have to pay to play one way or the other. It's going to cost you time, money, staff, something, but this is not magic. It's not just happening. And I still think too many practices think that. I get calls all the time, and so I say, okay, so tell me what you're doing right now. And it's typically the older surgeon who's been around a long time, and they've never had to advertise. As a matter of fact, it used to be, condemned. I mean, you would be like shot by your colleagues if you did advertise. So that's way too old school. But right now, a lot of them still think social media is just a fad. How did you figure that out, that it's not? Because I also would fight it if I didn't have to put in all that time, I wouldn't be. But you have to, if you want to develop a personality, be somebody, an industry influencer, a patient influencer, a patient advocate. You have got to show them who you are in today's world. And I think it's so blurred now between work and play. Doctors used to be on that pedestal, and like it or not, you're now almost friends with your patients. Like, well, how does that work out? Do the patients show up looking at you as God because they've seen you so much on TV? And by the way, screens don't matter anymore. You look like a celebrity on an iPhone or an iPad or a TV. you know, you can make yourself a celebrity. But how do the patients react to you? Do they think you're God and they sit on every word you say, or are they negotiating with you? How's that feeling? Like you're their friend?
Yeah, I mean, really oddly, I'm an extroverted person by nature, but I still blush. I'll be in the room and they're like, "I've been watching you for
Yeah.
10 years. I've been saving my money up for 10 years. And oh my God, I finally got to meet you. You're on my Snap, my TikTok, my IG. I've been watching you on your billboard, your radio. I run a syndicated, not run, but I'm on the plastic surgeon for a syndicated radio talk show called The Billy Madison Show, which is the #1 morning show in the city. And I'm on in about 7 states once a week. And I've been doing that for 4 years. I've been answering funny and stupid questions about all kinds of weird things. And you just have to know that people are going to want to take pictures with you, hang out. Just do it. It's not going to hurt you to take pictures with people.
Do you have any idea what's working better than something else? I know social media is so difficult to track, which is why I always say, just be everywhere right now. Just put your content, cut it up and put it everywhere. But do you have any idea if TikTok is the place to be, or is it still Instagram or Instagram Live?
I know exactly. Yeah. I know exactly, because going to surgery, I have this piece of paper that I go every patient 25 a week that I'm like, and they're like, the billboard, the Billy Madison Show, Google. And then I hand it to my marketing person. Yeah. And every Tuesday, all the departments and we have a meeting from about 6:30 in the morning till about 8. And we go over marketing, we go over sales, which person is making the most. I mean, it's a fairly intense meeting. It's a business meeting. So I can tell you now, Google is #1. Mm-hmm. Word of mouth is #2. Facebook is tied with 2. Billy Madison Show, the radio, is #3. Social media is #4. Billboard is #5. Mm-hmm. So I know the top 5 off the top of my head because I see it every week.
And what's one of the marketing mistakes you made or that just bombed? What didn't work?
Print. Yeah. Print sucks. Print's horrible. They'll say, hey, you'll be on every coffee table or whatever. Right. The problem is somebody has to open that. Very few people open a magazine unless you're on an airplane, I guess.
Well, even I open them on the airplane because I travel all the time, or I used to. And I used to think, here's how I visualize this. You're trying to get from A to B. You're A, the patient's B. How many things do you have between A and B? So I have to be on an airplane. I have to open the magazine, which I never do. I only do because I want to see which surgeons are advertising there. And then I have to get to that page. I have to stop long enough flipping to actually stop and read the page. I have to be in the mood to actually say, oh, maybe I am interested in surgery. Then I have to get off the plane, remember to call them. You know what I mean? It didn't even start yet. Like, that's a long A to B. So I think social media has made it so much more direct. And I think that's why you've conquered that. That's how you do it, I think.
I don't think I've conquered anything yet. I like to learn a little bit. Like, I would learn from you a lot. And I'm learning from a bunch of, eventually I make my rounds. I did one, and then I'm doing another one now, and then you're going to be now. And then I'll always learn something. Right. And just don't forget to go ahead and hire some people for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours, 10 hours of their time. Because one little thing makes a huge difference at my level, because I've already layered a big sort of cupcake, and now I'm just doing the icing. Yeah. And you're going to bring a lot to the icing. Like, what else can I do to make it a little bit more refreshed, right, or more viral?
Any chance you can tell us the percentage of revenues that you're spending on marketing? Because too many surgeons still think they can get away with free and not do anything.
Oh, okay. So when I first started out, I will tell you, Catherine, it was 40%. Yeah. Like back when I didn't know anything. But that means you have to pay yourself really little. Yeah. I mean, I was making less than some of the plumbers for 7 years, but you have to sort of prime the pump. Mm-hmm. If you're new in an area, word of mouth, forget it. That means you have to prime the pump. Now, cheap ways to do that is social media. But like you said, if you get a little billboard here and there,
Mhm.
maybe go on the radio and touch people different ways, they'll know you from different ways. I think, and you may know better, you need 7 to 9 touches
Right.
for someone to walk in usually. So I would say I started at 40%. Used to cost me $1,000 to put a patient on the table.
Mhm.
That's per patient. That was a lot, but I was
Mhm.
doing, this was back in, you remember in '07, there was no Facebook,
Mhm.
really. There was no IG, nothing. You had TV, which we did a lot of TV. We did a little bit of radio. We did a bunch of like what I call old school marketing. And I was 1,000 a patient. Now I'm down to about 100 a patient.
Wow.
So you have to think like, but this is 12 years of figuring out how to get from $1,000 a patient to put on your table
Mhm.
to $100. Now I know at my pay-per-click, we have a meeting every month with my pay-per-click provider. We're at somewhere in the realm of $32 per lead,
Oh, good for
which
you.
on pay-per-click but the only reason that's so low is because my name's already out there. So they already know Dr. Jeneby.
Yep.
So it doesn't cost us a lot. But in the beginning, you're going to be spending a lot. And I would consider 25 to 30% of my overhead gross has to go to marketing, because marketing is an investment, not an expenditure.
When you finally get that it's an investment, you make better decisions as well.
Yes, all the time.
Mhm.
When COVID came down,
Mhm.
everybody in my city, most of the people in my city went down by 50% or more.
Mhm.
So I knew this was an opportunity. So I doubled my marketing,
Mhm.
which would make me effectively 4 times marketing.
Yep.
Because if they went down by 2 and you went up by 2, and I did that in the recession of '07 and '08, and that isn't my idea. That was Kellogg's versus Post
Yep.
back in the day in the Great Depression.
Mhm.
And I think Kellogg's cornflakes was #1, and they thought, no, this little upstart raisin thing not going to get us. We're Kellogg's. So they reduced their marketing, and Post doubled it, and they became #1. So again, you got to read about business a little bit and how that works, and read your Harvard Business Review every month, talk to you, but never ever give up marketing. It's the last thing you cut.
Right.
Last thing.
Well, the other thing that happened with COVID was you not only doubled your marketing, but you also doubled the audience because so many people were at home all of a sudden. What a great time to capture attention.
Absolutely.
That you couldn't have before.
That's very astute of you. We had people, from July to August, well, actually right after COVID, we had 1 month where we reached 1.5 million people on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we did that twice, and it was during COVID because they were bored sitting there, and they started to see your ads, and they're like, wait a minute, when we pop out of this, we're going to go to this guy or this girl or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what's one piece of advice you would give a surgeon today in this competitive, saturated marketplace? What would you tell them to do to just step it up?
Well, I didn't hire a lot. When I first started, I didn't hire anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I would get a little bit I would probably get a little bit of direction, somebody like you or somebody else, but I would say you. And just get some direction of cost of how much you're going to spend. Because if you're in Houston and you're in Post Oak, Houston, you're going to spend a lot. If you're in New York City, you're going to spend a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But just remember, every dollar you spend in marketing, if you pick up, like you spend $1,000, but you pick up a $6,000 surgery, your ROI is 6 to 1. That beats anything in the stock market or even in real estate. That would take you decades to make 6 to 1 on real estate, usually. So just remember, marketing, I see it as a stock market play, is you put $1 in, how much did you make from that dollar? And you can calculate that all month.
Yep.
So I would say take less salary, much less, and prime the pump for about 5 to 10 years. Live like a resident, like you did before you did it. You just you probably could buy yourself a little bit of a new car, but try to live like a resident for 5 to 10 years and prime the pump.
It is so true. You look at your assets, especially as you get older. So you buy some real estate or you buy your home and you say, okay, that's my asset. Nobody seems to look at their business as an asset.
Absolutely.
If you set that up correctly, you're a money-making machine that you can then cipher off some of those profits to then put in investment places. But you're a sure bet, way more than a stock market bet. So
I mean the Department of Labor clearly states that a successful business is the most profitable thing you can do.
Yep.
I mean, having real estate is great as a long hedge, but if you could make, like, let's say, if we spend about 200 grand a year on my marketing,
Mm-hmm.
we're probably 30 to 1 ROI or something. I mean, you can't do that you just can't do that playing the stock market unless you got really lucky.
Right.
Like with Tesla, if you bought Tesla 5 years ago, but don't even think like that.
Yeah.
You've got to, like Warren Buffett used to say, don't build a lot of shallow mines. Mine your mine much deeper to make money.
So true.
And and mine your mine, which means put money into it. You know what a tummy tuck is. You know what a breast dog is. You know what a blep is. Nobody else knows that in the world.
Yep.
And if you present yourself and you get some help, you present yourself, you're going to be just fine. But be prepared to live like a resident for about 5 to 10 years to be number one in your city.
That's a tough one. And I know why, because you guys went through hell to become surgeons. Like, you already did the starving part and the 14 years of becoming a surgeon, and now you want to reap the benefits of that. And I so get that, but then there's reality and there's business, you know? That's why we talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have it down. You've been studying these practices for a while.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm honored you chose me, but
Absolutely.
there's plenty of successful practices that you can model after. And the great part about you is you've gone in and seen everyone, and everyone does slightly something different. And then you've got so much information, you can take somebody's life, reduce their personal income down to very little. I'm talking, if you can live on 60 to 100 grand a year and pump the rest into marketing, you're going to be ahead in 10 years. You won't be consistently putting a little bit for 20 years. You'll start to be able to reduce your marketing in the sweet spot, which is age 40 to 60.
Yep. And then you have a sellable asset. And we'll talk about that the next time, right? So last question, because we're going to wrap it up now. Tell us something we don't know about you already.
I read a lot. I read a lot about three big leaders. It would be Alexander the Great, Hannibal, and Caesar. And I study their books and tactics. And I like Roman history and Carthaginian history and the history of these great leaders. And they all have some few things in common, in that they were very resolute and that they were able to lead people. And once you get that down and you start reading these books, because you don't have to invent the wheel. You can just read books and like, oh, they did it like this. Oh, okay, let me emulate that. So read a lot, because leaders are readers, and you're just gonna, you can't just sit your life down and sit in front of the tube. You're gonna have to read, and if you want to read some good books, you just email me and I have a list of terribly good books: 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, Lincoln on Leadership, and a bunch of other books I've read several times now, and they all have similar qualities.
Okay, so how can they get a hold of you? I think it's Dr. Jeneby, plasticsurgery.com. Can they leave a message there, or Instagram?
Yeah, or they can email me privately at my first initial is T. My last name is Jeneby, TJENEBY, at yahoo.com.
Gotcha.
And then if anybody ever wants any advice, I do have a consulting arm where we're guaranteed to make you 5 to 1 ROI every month.
Nice.
Because we install people on and we make them work for us pretty much 16 hours a day on acquisition and on financing. So we figured out some basic things that are successful.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeneby. It's always a pleasure. I hope to see you at a meeting someday soon when we go back to normal. So crazy.
I'm excited to see you again. Again, I'm touched and honored that you chose me for your vlog or whatever we call these. And
podcast. Yeah,
again,
Beauty in the Biz podcast.
Me and you can collaborate very soon, and I'll tell you what we have, and we'll enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. All right, thank you so much. And everybody, if you've enjoyed this episode of Beauty in the Biz, would you please head over to iTunes and subscribe? And of course, we'd love a good review. And then if you have any questions for me or any feedback, please give them to me on my new website we just put up. It's catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me at Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again.